A woman adopted a sick dog that nobody wanted. Days later, he saves his family from a fire. How did this act of compassion become a story of heroism? Find out now. The bell at Oak Ridge Elementary School echoed through the empty corridors, marking the end of another school day. Olivia Carter, a young 28-year-old teacher, watched through the window of her classroom as her students rushed into the courtyard, eager to get home. Her brown eyes, normally bright and full of life, looked tired and distant. Sighing, Olivia began to pack her things. The joyful laughter and shouts of the children outside contrasted sharply with the silence that surrounded her. She loved her job, but lately, she felt an emptiness that not even the satisfaction of teaching could fill. "Hey, Liv, want to join us at Rosie's Diner?" The excited voice of her colleague, Rachel, snapped her out of her thoughts. Olivia forced a smile. "Thanks, Rach, but I think I'll pass this time. I've got some things to sort out at home." Rachel frowned, worried. "Are you sure? You look like you could use a night out." "I'm fine, really," Olivia assured her, although her voice didn't sound very convincing. "Maybe next week." After Rachel left, Olivia finished organizing her desk and left the school. The crisp autumn air of Maple Grove, a small town in the heart of Minnesota, welcomed her as she stepped onto the sidewalk. The golden and red leaves danced in the wind, creating a picturesque backdrop that would normally enchant her. Today, however, she hardly noticed. As she walked home, Olivia reflected on her life. At 28, she had a stable job, a cozy apartment, and loyal friends. Still, something was missing. She felt incomplete. Walking past the Maple Grove Community Center, Olivia noticed a colorful sign in the window. "Pet Adoption Fair this Saturday," it announced in big, cheerful letters. Below it were pictures of dogs and cats waiting for homes. Olivia stopped, her eyes fixed on one picture in particular, a sad-looking dog with eyes that seemed to reflect her own loneliness. Without thinking too much, she took out her phone and snapped a picture of the poster. Arriving home, Olivia threw her bag on the sofa and headed for the kitchen. As she warmed up a frozen meal in the microwave, her eyes wandered to the photo on her phone. There was something about that dog that intrigued her. "Maybe it's time for a change," she muttered to herself. On Saturday morning, Olivia found herself nervously entering the community center. The hall was full of barking, meowing, and excited voices. Volunteers were running around, introducing the animals to potential owners. "First time here?" A smiling volunteer approached. Olivia nodded. "Yes, Actually, I saw a dog on the poster that caught my eye." The volunteer, whose badge read Amy, smiled even more. "That's great. Let's have a look and see if we can find him." As they walked through the cages, Olivia felt her heart racing, and then she saw him, the same dog as on the poster. He was a medium-sized mongrel, with shaggy brown fur and deep brown eyes that seemed to contain all the sadness in the world. "This is Buddy," Amy explained. "He was rescued from a neglectful situation a few weeks ago. He's having a hard time adjusting here." Olivia knelt down in front of the cage, her eyes meeting Buddy's. At that moment, something changed inside her. It was as if an invisible connection had formed between them. Can I hold him?" Olivia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Amy opened the cage and gently placed Buddy in Olivia's arms. The dog trembled for a moment, but then snuggled against her, as if he had finally found a safe place. Olivia felt tears forming in her eyes. In that instant, she knew. Her life was about to change forever. "I'm taking him," she said, her voice firm and resolute. As she signed the adoption papers, Olivia felt a rush of emotions: fear, excitement, hope. She didn't know exactly what the future held, but she was certain of one thing: she and Buddy would face whatever lay ahead together. The morning sun filtered through the curtains of Olivia's small apartment, casting a soft glow over the living room floor. Buddy, still hesitant in his new surroundings, was huddled in a corner, his watchful eyes following Olivia's every move. "It's okay, Buddy," Olivia murmured softly, kneeling down at a safe distance. "I know this is all new to you, but I promise we'll get through it together." Slowly, she held out her hand, offering a treat. Buddy sniffed the air cautiously before taking a hesitant step towards her. It was small progress, but it made Olivia's heart fill with hope. The weekend passed in a blur of adjustments and discoveries. Olivia discovered that Buddy was afraid of loud noises and refused to eat from his bowl. She spent hours sitting on the floor, offering him food with her hand and talking softly to him. On Monday morning, Olivia reluctantly got ready to go back to work. "I'll be back soon, buddy," she promised, putting out fresh water and food before leaving. At Oak Ridge Elementary, Rachel met her in the hallway. "Hey, Liv, how was your weekend?" Olivia couldn't help but smile. "Actually, I adopted a dog." Rachel's eyes widened in surprise. "Wow, that's unexpected. How's it going?" "It's a challenge," Olivia admitted. "He's come from a difficult situation and is having trouble adjusting. But there's something about him, Rachel. I know that with time and patience, he'll be fine." Rachel smiled, noticing the sparkle in her friend's eyes. "Looks like you two found exactly what you needed." Throughout the day, Olivia found herself thinking about Buddy. During the break, she called home, leaving a message on the answering machine so that he could hear her voice. She knew it was silly, but she hoped it would somehow comfort him. When she finally got home, Olivia found Buddy exactly where she had left him. Her heart squeezed when she saw the fear in his eyes. "Oh, Buddy," she sighed, sitting down on the floor. To her surprise, the dog slowly approached, sniffing her hand before lying down beside her. He wasn't touching her, but it was the closest he had ever come voluntarily. Encouraged, Olivia decided to call the local vet, Dr. Anderson, to make an appointment. Buddy needed a full checkup, and she wanted to make sure she was doing everything right. The next morning, Olivia struggled to get Buddy into the car. He was shaking uncontrollably, and she felt a pang of guilt for causing him so much stress. At the vet's office, Dr. Anderson, a middle-aged man with kind eyes, examined Buddy patiently. "He's malnourished and has some dental problems," the vet explained. "I also detected a mild infection. We'll need intensive treatment over the next few weeks." Olivia nodded, determined. "I'll do whatever it takes, doctor." As she drove home with a bag full of medication and special food, Olivia felt a mixture of worry and determination. Taking care of Buddy would be more of a challenge than she had imagined, but looking at the dog curled up in the passenger seat, she knew it would be worth it. At home, Olivia prepared a comfortable corner for Buddy with soft blankets and toys that the vet had recommended. Sitting next to him, she began to plan the next few days, determined to help him recover. "We'll get through this together, Buddy," she promised softly. "You're not alone anymore." That night, as she prepared for bed, Olivia reflected on the changes in her life. Just a few days ago, she had felt lost and lonely. Now, although she faced challenges, she felt a renewed purpose. Buddy needed her, and somehow she realized that she needed him too. With a contented sigh, Olivia fell asleep, knowing that tomorrow would bring new challenges, but also new opportunities for growth and love. Autumn in Maple Grove painted the streets in shades of gold and red, creating a picturesque backdrop that contrasted with the tense atmosphere inside Olivia's apartment. 3 weeks had passed since Buddy's adoption, and each day brought new challenges and small victories. That Saturday morning, Olivia woke up to the soft sound of paws moving around the room. Opening her eyes, she saw Buddy cautiously exploring the space, his snout sniffing every corner. It was the first time she had seen him moving freely around the apartment without being encouraged. "Good morning, Buddy," Olivia whispered, not wanting to startle him. Buddy froze for a moment, his eyes meeting hers. Then, to her surprise, he slowly approached the bed, sniffing her outstretched hand. Olivia felt tears forming in her eyes. It was such small progress, but it meant the world to her. "You're doing so well," she murmured, resisting the urge to stroke him. Following the routine they had established, Olivia prepared breakfast for them both. Buddy still hesitated to eat from the bowl, so she patiently offered him the food with her hand. The treatment prescribed by Dr. Anderson was having an effect. Buddy's fur was beginning to take on a healthy shine, and he was gaining weight. While Buddy was eating, Olivia received a message from Rachel. "How are things with the new member of the family?" Olivia smiled, typing quickly. "Getting better every day. He took a few steps towards me today." Rachel's reply was immediate. "That's wonderful, Liv. How about we celebrate? We could have a picnic in Willow Creek Park tomorrow." Olivia hesitated. The thought of taking Buddy out of the house worried her, but she knew that eventually she would need to introduce him to the outside world. "Sounds great," she finally replied, "but we'll have to go slowly." On Sunday, the sun was shining softly through the sparse clouds when Olivia and Rachel met in the park. Buddy, held tightly on his leash, was trembling slightly. "He's adorable," Rachel commented softly, keeping her distance so as not to frighten the dog. They found a quiet spot under a large oak tree, away from the busy recreation area. Olivia spread out a blanket and sat down, allowing Buddy to decide how close he wanted to be. To her surprise, after a few minutes of hesitation, Buddy approached and lay down next to her, his alert eyes observing his surroundings. "Look at him," Rachel whispered, delighted. "He trusts you." Olivia felt her heart fill with emotion. "We still have a long way to go, but moments like this make it all worthwhile." As they chatted and enjoyed their picnic, Olivia noticed Buddy gradually relaxing. In a particularly brave moment, he even sniffed Rachel's outstretched hand, making both women smile with delight. Suddenly, a frisbee flew near them, followed by an excited golden retriever. Buddy cringed, trembling violently. Olivia immediately positioned herself between him and the other dog, speaking softly to calm him down. The golden retriever's owner, a middle-aged man, hurried over. "I'm sorry," he apologized, putting his dog on a leash. Noting Buddy's condition, he added gently, "It looks like you're on a journey to recovery. Stay strong. It'll be worth it." Olivia nodded, grateful for the understanding. When the man walked away, she turned to Buddy, who was still shaking. "It's all right, Buddy. You're safe. I'm here." Slowly, Buddy calmed down, his breathing returning to normal. Olivia exchanged a meaningful glance with Rachel. This little incident showed how much progress Buddy had made, but also how far they still had to go. As they packed up to leave, Olivia reflected on the last few weeks. Every small step Buddy took towards recovery was a victory, not just for him, but for her too. She was learning about patience, perseverance, and the transformative power of unconditional love. "Thank you for today," Olivia said to Rachel as they said goodbye. "It was good for both of us to get away for a bit." Rachel smiled, her eyes shining with admiration. "You're doing an amazing job, Liv. You both are." Walking back home with Buddy by her side, Olivia felt a surge of hope and determination. The road ahead was still long, but she knew that together they could overcome any obstacle. Fall gave way to winter in Maple Grove, and with it came a change not only in the landscape, but also in Olivia and Buddy's lives. The trees were now bare, their branches covered in a thin layer of snow that sparkled under the weak December sun. Inside Olivia's cozy apartment, the progress was palpable. Buddy, once so frightened and withdrawn, was now moving more confidently around the space. His soft paw steps on the wooden floor were a constant song that filled Olivia with joy. That Saturday morning, Olivia woke up to something unusual, a soft weight on the edge of her bed. Opening her eyes, she saw Buddy lying there, his head resting on his paws, brown eyes watching her with a mixture of trust and expectation. "Good morning, my love," Olivia whispered, her heart bursting with emotion. Slowly, she held out her hand. Buddy hesitated for a moment before moving closer, allowing her to gently stroke his head for the first time. Tears of joy streamed down Olivia's face. This moment, so simple and yet so profound, was the result of months of patience, love, and perseverance. Later that day, while Olivia was preparing lunch, the phone rang. It was Rachel, her voice excited on the other end of the line. "Liv, you won't believe it. I've got tickets for the local animal shelter's charity event next week. Do you want to go with me?" Olivia hesitated. The thought of leaving Buddy alone for an entire evening worried her. "I don't know, Rach. Buddy's been making incredible progress, but—" "Bring him along," Rachel suggested enthusiastically. "The event is pet-friendly. It would be a great opportunity for him to socialize a bit more." The proposal took Olivia by surprise. Buddy had improved significantly, but an event full of people and other animals seemed like a big step. However, as she looked at the dog, now lying comfortably in his new bed, she realized that perhaps it was time to expand her horizons. "You know what? Let's give it a go," Olivia decided, feeling a mixture of nervousness and excitement. On the night of the event, the Maple Grove Community Center was transformed. Soft lights illuminated the hall, decorated with ribbons and balloons in shades of blue and silver. Volunteers circulated with trays of treats for both humans and pets. Olivia entered hesitantly, Buddy clinging to her legs. To her surprise, He wasn't shaking as much as she had expected. His eyes were alert but curious, observing his new surroundings. "You've come!" Rachel exclaimed, approaching carefully. She bent down, offering her hand for Buddy to smell. "Hello, pretty boy. You look so good." Slowly, Olivia and Buddy mingled with the crowd. To Olivia's amazement and joy, Buddy seemed to be adapting well. He was still startled by sudden noises, but he didn't panic. "Olivia!" A familiar voice called out. Turning around, she saw Dr. Anderson, the vet, smiling warmly. "How nice to see you and Buddy here. He looks great." "Dr. Anderson? Yes, he's making incredible progress," Olivia replied proudly. The vet crouched down, examining Buddy with experienced eyes. "You've done an incredible job with him, Olivia. Many people would have given up in the face of the challenges you faced." His words touched Olivia deeply. "He's worth every effort," she said softly. As the evening progressed, Olivia noticed a subtle change in Buddy. He seemed more relaxed, occasionally sniffing out other dogs passing by. In one surprising moment, he even accepted a treat from the hand of a smiling volunteer. As the event drew to a close, Olivia felt a mixture of exhaustion and elation. Buddy had exceeded all her expectations, and she couldn't have been prouder. "You were amazing today, Buddy," she murmured to Buddy as they drove home. "We're ready for new challenges, aren't we?" Buddy's gentle tail wag in the passenger seat was all the answer she needed. Together, they were ready to face whatever the future held, one step at a time. Winter in Maple Grove was in full swing, with snow covering the streets and the roofs of the houses like a silent white blanket. Inside Olivia's apartment, the warmth of the heater contrasted with the cold outside, creating a cozy refuge for her and Buddy. That Saturday morning, Olivia woke up to the soft sound of Buddy stretching at the foot of the bed. Over the last few months, he had become a constant presence in her life, filling the empty spaces she didn't even know existed. "Good morning, my love," Olivia murmured, reaching out to stroke Buddy's soft ears. The dog responded with a lazy wag of his tail, his brown eyes shining with trust and affection. As she prepared breakfast, Olivia reflected on how much their lives had changed. Buddy, once so frightened and suspicious, now followed her around the house, his body relaxed and his tail wagging gently. He still had moments of hesitation, especially with strangers, but the progress was undeniable. The phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. It was Rachel, her voice excited on the other end of the line. "Liv, I've got an amazing idea. How about we take Buddy for a walk in Willow Creek Park today? It's snowing, and the park is beautiful at this time of year." Olivia hesitated for a moment, looking at Buddy, who was now sitting patiently next to his bowl of food. "I don't know, Rach. He's never seen snow before. It might be too much for him. Or it could be a wonderful experience," Rachel argued gently. "Think of it as another step on the journey for both of you." After a few minutes of deliberation, Olivia agreed. "All right, let's give it a try. Meet you there in an hour." An hour later, Olivia parked her car near the entrance to the park. Buddy, sitting in the passenger seat, looked out of the window with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. When Olivia opened the door, he hesitated, sniffing the cold air. "Come on, Buddy," Olivia encouraged gently. "It's only snow. You'll like it, I promise." Carefully, Buddy climbed out of the car, his paws sinking into the fluffy snow. He froze for a moment, surprised by the sensation, before taking a few hesitant steps. Olivia watched, her heart full of tenderness, as Buddy explored this new white world. Rachel arrived a few minutes later, smiling as she saw Buddy sniffing a pile of snow. "Look at him. He looks like he's enjoying it." The two friends started walking along the park's snow-covered paths, with Buddy trotting between them. As they progressed, the dog's confidence seemed to grow. He started sniffing the snow-covered trees, occasionally sticking his snout into snowdrifts, much to Olivia and Rachel's amusement. "He's so different from the day you adopted him," Rachel commented, watching Buddy with admiration. "You've done an amazing job, Liv." Olivia felt a lump in her throat. "He did all the hard work. I've just been there for him." As they walked, they came across other residents enjoying the snowy day. To Olivia's surprise, Buddy didn't cringe when a group of children ran past, laughing and throwing snowballs. He just watched curiously, his tail wagging slightly. In the middle of the walk, something unexpected happened. A squirrel jumped from a nearby tree, landing in the snow with a soft thud. Before Olivia could react, Buddy gave a joyful bark, the first she had ever heard him give, and ran a few steps towards the animal before stopping. Looking at Olivia as if asking permission, Olivia and Rachel exchanged looks of astonishment before bursting into laughter. "I think we've just witnessed the birth of the real Buddy," Rachel said, wiping tears of laughter from her eyes. The rest of the walk was filled with more moments of joy and discovery. Buddy sniffed every tree, played in the snow, and even made friends with a friendly Labrador that passed by. When they finally got back to the car, Buddy was tired but visibly happy, his tongue hanging out in a canine grin. "Thanks for that, Rach," Olivia said, hugging her friend. "It was exactly what we both needed." As they drove home, with Buddy sleeping peacefully in the passenger seat, Olivia felt a wave of gratitude and love. Each day brought new challenges, but also new joys. And with Buddy by her side, she knew she could face anything life threw her way. Spring arrived in Maple Grove, bringing with it an explosion of color and new life. The town's gardens were blooming with tulips and daffodils, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of cherry blossoms. For Olivia and Buddy, this new season symbolized not only a change in nature, but also in their lives. One particularly pleasant Saturday morning, Olivia decided to take Buddy for a longer walk in Willow Creek Park. The park was full of life, with families picnicking, children playing, and other dog owners walking their pets. "Come on, Buddy," Olivia encouraged gently, as they approached a group of people and their dogs. Buddy, who would previously have cowered in fear, now walked confidently beside her, his tail wagging gently. A woman with a golden retriever smiled at them. "What a beautiful dog. May I ask what breed he is?" Olivia smiled back. "Actually, he's a mongrel. I adopted him from the local shelter a few months ago." "Oh, how wonderful," the woman exclaimed. "He looks so well adjusted. You must have worked very hard." As they talked, Buddy and the golden retriever sniffed each other curiously. Olivia watched in amazement as her once shy companion interacted calmly with another dog. "He came from a difficult situation," Olivia explained. "It took a while, but he's finally opening up to the world." The conversation was interrupted by a sudden scream. A small child had fallen off his bike nearby, crying loudly. Buddy, surprisingly, wasn't startled. Instead, he turned his head in the direction of the sound, his ears perked up, as if he were worried. Olivia felt her heart fill with pride. "Do you want to go and see, boy?" she asked softly. With a gentle command, they approached the child and his mother. "Is everything all right?" Olivia asked, keeping a respectful distance. The mother, who was consoling the child, looked up. "Yes, thank you. Just a little tumble." The child, still sniffling, looked at Buddy with wide eyes. "Puppy," she murmured. "This is Buddy," Olivia said gently. "He's been hurt before too, but he's much better now. Would you like to pet him?" With his mother's permission, the child hesitantly held out his hand. Buddy, to Olivia's surprise, stepped forward, allowing the child to touch his soft fur. The little girl's face lit up with a smile, her tears forgotten. "See, Buddy knows you're going to be okay too," Olivia said, feeling a wave of emotion at seeing her dog, once so traumatized, now comforting another wounded soul. As they drove home, Olivia reflected on how far they had come. Buddy was no longer just the dog she had rescued. He had become her partner, her confidant, her family. At home, while preparing dinner, Olivia received a call from Rachel. "Liv, I've got great news," Rachel exclaimed. "Remember that group of volunteers from the shelter I mentioned? They're organizing an animal adoption awareness event next month. I thought maybe you and Buddy could take part. Your story could inspire a lot of people." Olivia hesitated for a moment, looking at Buddy, who was resting peacefully in his bed. The idea of sharing his journey with others was both exciting and a little frightening. "You know what, Rach? I think we're going to do this," she decided. "If our story can help other dogs like Buddy find loving homes, it's worth a try." As she hung up the phone, Olivia felt a mixture of nervousness and excitement. This would be a new adventure for both of them, another step on their journey together. Looking at Buddy, she smiled. "What do you think, Buddy? Ready to inspire some people?" Buddy's gentle tail wag was all the answer she needed. Together, they were ready to face this new challenge, confident in the love and trust they had built up. The May sun shone brightly over Maple Grove, turning Central Park into a kaleidoscope of colors and activities. It was the day of the Animal Adoption Awareness event, and Olivia felt a mixture of nervousness and excitement as she guided Buddy through the crowd. Colorful tents dotted the lawn, each representing different rescue organizations and local shelters. Posters with pictures of animals waiting for a home adorned the structures, their hopeful eyes capturing the attention of the visitors. "Olivia! This way!" Rachel's voice rang out above the hubbub of the crowd. She waved from a blue tent decorated with white paws, where a banner announced, "Stories of Hope, Second Chances for Pets and People." Approaching, Olivia noticed how Buddy walked confidently beside her, his tail swaying gently. He occasionally sniffed the air, curious, but remained calm even with all the commotion around him. "You're right on time," Rachel smiled, adjusting a microphone on a small platform. "Are you ready to share your story?" Olivia took a deep breath, stroking Buddy's ears to calm herself. "I think so," she replied, her voice shaking slightly. As Rachel made her introductions, a small crowd gathered in front of the tent. Olivia observed curious faces and kind smiles, many of them accompanied by their own pets. "And now, I'd like to introduce Olivia and Buddy," Rachel concluded, gesturing for them to come up onto the platform. On shaky legs, Olivia positioned herself at the microphone, Buddy sitting obediently beside her. She looked out at the audience, finding encouragement in their attentive gazes. 8 months ago, I was a lonely teacher, living a life that seemed incomplete. Olivia began, her voice gaining strength as she spoke. And then, on an impulse, I visited the local shelter and met Buddy. She described the challenging first days, the nights when she doubted her ability to help, and the small moments of progress that kept her hope alive. "Buddy has taught me more about patience, unconditional love and resilience than I could ever have imagined," Olivia continued, her voice laced with emotion. "He's not just a dog I rescued, he rescued me too." As Olivia spoke, Buddy stood attentively beside her, occasionally looking at her as if he understood every word. The audience listened in respectful silence, many with tears in their eyes. "If you're thinking of adopting, please consider an older or special needs animal," Olivia concluded. "They have so much love to give, and the journey you will share will be incredibly rewarding." When she finished, warm applause erupted from the crowd. People approached to ask questions, share their own adoption stories, or simply to stroke Buddy, who accepted the attention with surprising grace. Among the visitors, Olivia noticed a middle-aged man watching the scene with a thoughtful smile. He approached after the crowd had thinned. "Your story is inspiring," he said, holding out his hand. "I'm Dr. Anderson, a local veterinarian. We're always looking for volunteers for our rehabilitation program for rescued dogs. I think you and Buddy would be a wonderful addition to the team." Olivia felt her heart race at the possibility. She looked at Buddy, who returned her gaze with eyes full of trust and love. "We'd love to help," she replied, feeling that a new chapter was about to begin in their lives. As the sun began to set over Maple Grove, Olivia and Buddy walked home, exhausted but fulfilled. The day had been more than just an event. It was an affirmation of how much they had grown together and a promise of the positive impact they could have in the future. "I think we've found our purpose, Buddy," Olivia murmured to Buddy, who responded with an enthusiastic wag of his tail. The road ahead was full of possibilities, and they were ready to explore them together, step by step, day by day. Summer in Maple Grove brought with it a heat wave that made the asphalt ripple under the scorching sun. Inside the local animal shelter, however, the air conditioning hummed gently, providing a cool refuge for the volunteers and their four-legged charges. Olivia walked through the door, Buddy trotting faithfully at her side. In recent weeks, they had become regular presences at the shelter, helping with the rehabilitation program for rescued dogs. The familiar smell of dog food and disinfectant greeted them, along with a chorus of enthusiastic barks. "Good morning, Olivia," called Lisa, the shelter coordinator, from behind the reception desk. "We have a new resident who I think you should meet." Intrigued, Olivia followed Lisa to the back kennels. In a cage in the corner, cowering and trembling, was a worn-looking German shepherd. His eyes, although frightened, had a depth that reminded Olivia of Buddy in their first days together. "This is Rex," Lisa explained softly. "He was rescued from an abandonment situation last week. We haven't been able to get him to eat or interact with anyone." Olivia felt her heart squeeze. Kneeling down in front of the cage, she spoke in a low, soft voice. "Hello, Rex. It's all right now. You're safe here." To everyone's surprise, Buddy approached the cage, sniffing curiously. Rex, who until then had shied away from everyone who approached, raised his head, his eyes meeting Buddy's. "Well, look at that," Lisa murmured, amazed. Over the next few days, Olivia and Buddy spent hours with Rex. Slowly, the German Shepherd began to come out of his shell. He accepted food from Olivia's hand and allowed Buddy to lie down near his cage. One afternoon, while working with Rex in the shelter's courtyard, Olivia noticed a man watching them from the fence. He looked about 50, with gray hair and tired eyes. "Sorry," the man said, his voice hoarse. "I didn't mean to disturb you, it's just, this dog reminds me a lot of my old companion." Olivia smiled gently. "No problem. This is Rex. He's been with us for a few weeks." The man nodded, his eyes never leaving Rex. "My dog, Max, looked just like him. I lost him 2 years ago in a fire at my house. Since then, I haven't been able to, well, you know." The story touched Olivia deeply. She could see the pain in the man's eyes, a pain she recognized from her own lonely days before Buddy. "I'm sorry for your loss," she said softly. "You know, Rex here has had a hard time too. Maybe you two could help each other." The man hesitated, a glimmer of hope crossing his face. "Do you think so? I don't know if I'm ready." Olivia smiled encouragingly. "Why don't you start slowly? Come and visit him a few times. There's no pressure, just a chance to make a new connection." Over the next few days, the man, who introduced himself as Frank, became a regular visitor. Rex, to everyone's surprise, responded positively to him. It was as if the two wounded souls recognized each other. As she watched Frank and Rex interact, Olivia felt a surge of emotion. She looked at Buddy, who was sitting patiently next to her, and smiled. "Look at them, Buddy," she murmured. "Sometimes fate has a funny way of bringing together those who need each other the most." At that moment, Olivia understood that her journey with Buddy wasn't just about the two of them. It was about creating waves of compassion and healing that spread far beyond their own lives. And as the sun set over Maple Grove, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, she felt a deep sense of gratitude for being part of this web of connections and second chances. Autumn arrived in Maple Grove with an explosion of vibrant colors and a crisp air that foreshadowed the winter to come. The golden and red leaves danced in the wind, creating a colorful carpet on the streets of the small town. Olivia walked through the park with Buddy, enjoying the beauty of the season. Over the last few months, they had become an inseparable duo at the shelter, helping dogs like Rex find new homes and hope. The success of their stories had inspired more people in the community to volunteer and adopt. As they walked, Olivia noticed dark clouds gathering on the horizon. "Looks like we're going to have to cut our walk short, Buddy," she muttered to Buddy, who looked up at the sky curiously. Suddenly, thunder echoed through the park, making Buddy cringe against Olivia's legs. She quickly bent down, stroking his fur to calm him. "It's okay, kid. Let's go home." They had barely reached the apartment when the storm broke. The rain fell in thick curtains, obscuring the view from the window. Lightning lit up the sky, followed by deafening thunder that made the windows shake. Buddy, normally calm, was agitated. He paced back and forth, moaning softly with each crash. Olivia tried to calm him down with soft words and caresses, but nothing seemed to help. "Oh, Buddy," she whispered, her heart squeezing at seeing her friend so frightened. "I wish I could explain that there's nothing to be afraid of." As the storm roared outside, Olivia had an idea. She grabbed some blankets and created a small fort in the living room, like she used to do when she was a child. "Come here, boy," she called softly, patting the space next to her. Hesitating, Buddy approached, sniffing the new arrangement. With a little encouragement, he snuggled up next to Olivia in the makeshift fort. "See, we're safe here," she murmured, slipping her arms around him. Slowly, Buddy began to relax, his tense body calming against hers. As the storm continued, Olivia reflected on how her life had changed since Buddy had entered it. She thought of all the challenges they had faced together, how they had grown and healed each other. "You know, Buddy," she said softly, "sometimes life is like this storm. It can be scary and unpredictable, but if you have someone by your side, someone you can trust, you can face anything." As if he understood, Buddy lifted his head and gently licked Olivia's cheek. She laughed, hugging him tighter. As the night progressed, the storm began to subside. The thunder became more distant, and the rain softened to a gentle drizzle. Olivia and Buddy remained in their fort, finding comfort in each other's presence. When the sun finally broke through the clouds the next morning, Olivia woke to find Buddy still curled up next to her, sleeping peacefully. She smiled, feeling a wave of gratitude for this being who had brought so much light into her life. Leaving the fort carefully so as not to wake Buddy, Olivia went to the window. The world outside was washed clean by the rain, shining with renewed clarity. The autumn leaves, now wet and shiny, looked like jewels scattered on the ground. At that moment, Olivia understood that, just as the storm had passed, leaving the world cleaner and brighter, the challenges she and Buddy had faced had made them stronger and more united. With a contented sigh, she returned to the fort, snuggling up again next to Buddy. As she stroked his soft ears, Olivia knew that no matter what the future held, they would face it together, finding strength and comfort in each other. Winter came to Maple Grove, covering the town in a silent white blanket. On Christmas Eve, snowflakes danced softly under the street lamps, creating an almost magical scene. Olivia was in the kitchen of her newly bought house, a small cottage on the outskirts of town. The aroma of freshly baked cookies filled the air, mingling with the fresh scent of pine from the Christmas tree in the living room. Buddy, now a confident and happy dog, rested by the fireplace, his fur shining in the firelight. As she tidied up a tray of cookies, Olivia reflected on the year that had passed. So many things had changed since that fateful day at the shelter. Her life, once so lonely and purposeless, now overflowed with love, friendship, and a sense of community she had never imagined possible. The doorbell rang, snapping her out of her thoughts. Buddy raised his head, wagging his tail in anticipation. Olivia smiled, knowing exactly who it was. As she opened the door, she was greeted by a chorus of "Merry Christmas!" Frank was there, Rex by his side, along with Rachel and several other volunteers from the shelter. Their arms were laden with presents and food. Come in," Olivia laughed, making her way through the small crowd. "It's freezing outside." Soon, the house was full of laughter, chatter, and the sound of paws sliding across the wooden floor. Rex and Buddy played happily, their antics a testament to how far they had both come. Frank approached Olivia, his eyes shining with a happiness she had never seen before. You know," he said softly, "a year ago I could barely get out of bed. Now look at us." Olivia nodded, feeling tears forming in her eyes. "It's amazing how things can change, isn't it?" Rachel joined them, raising her glass of hot cider. "A toast," she proposed, "to second chances and new beginnings." Everyone raised their glasses, the clink of the glass mingling with the joyful barking of the dogs. Later that evening, after the guests had left and the house was silent, Olivia snuggled up on the sofa with Buddy. She picked up a photo album, flipping through the pages that documented their journey together. There were photos of their first days together, of the awareness event in the park, of Rex and Frank getting to know each other, and countless precious moments at the shelter. "Look at us, Buddy," Olivia murmured, stroking Buddy's ears. "Who knew we could get so far?" Buddy looked at her, his eyes full of love and trust. At that moment, Olivia felt a wave of gratitude so strong that it almost took her breath away. This dog, whom she had thought she was rescuing, had actually rescued her from a life of loneliness and fear. Looking out of the window, Olivia saw that the snow had stopped. The sky was clear, dotted with bright stars. It was as if the universe was smiling down on them, promising better days ahead. "You know what, Buddy?" Olivia said softly. "I think this is just the beginning of our story." Buddy replied with a soft bark, as if he agreed. Together, they stood there, gazing at the starry sky, their hearts full of hope and love for the future that awaited them. And so, in the stillness of that Christmas night, Olivia understood that the real miracle was not just that she had found Buddy, but the journey of healing and growth they had shared. They had saved each other, and in the process, touched countless other lives. With Buddy by her side, Olivia knew she was ready for whatever adventure the future might bring, because now she understood the deeper truth. Love, in all its forms, has the power to heal, transform, and illuminate even the darkest night.